So let's get started with today's agenda. I told you people we had two questions for the agenda today. First is vegan company. This is based on advanced variances, as you people were requesting that you wanted to practice advanced variances as well as performance measurement questions together. So this is the first one that we will be practicing together. And this is vegan company. As you can see, this is a very recent past paper question. This was tested in March, June 2023. So we are right now in 2025, barely 2 years back, this question was asked. So it's a good representation to understand what is the latest kind of questions that the examiner is asking basis the topic of variances. So whenever we solve any section C question, we've discussed this earlier also, that we will first have a quick look at what the requirements are asking us to do. So before I read the case study, I will first have a quick look what all am I required to do in my question. So firstly, for 3 marks each, I have 4 variances to be calculated. First, I have to calculate the material price planning variance. Then I have to calculate the price operational variance, and then same with usage. Usage also planning and operational. These are all worth 3 marks each. 4 requirements pertaining 3 marks. So that is 12 marks of my question. And then remaining 8 marks are for part B. Part B wants me to assess the performance of both the production manager and the purchasing manager for the month of November. So these are all the requirements. This is all that I'm supposed to do for answering the question. So all the numerical workings I will be needing, only then I will be able to comment on the performance of both of the managers. So here they are telling you there are up to 2 marks available for additional calculations. So if whatever you've calculated in the first part, if you calculate something more over here, out of 8 marks, 2 marks can be obtained for any extra calculations that you people do specifically for part B. Okay, now proceeding further, guys, please do not annotate on the screen. Now proceeding further, let's get into the case study. For the case study, it is telling me the very first thing is that it is based in Zealand and it manufactures a wide range of non-meat and non-dairy products, which it supplies to retailers. So that means we are a wholesaler, we manufacture and then we supply it to the smaller sellers who are retailers. Its mission is to produce high quality, cruelty free products sourced from local ingredients. Vegan company uses a just-in-time system and holds no inventories. Its best-selling product is soya milk, and for the month of November, production levels were as follows. So soya milk, this is the product which the business manufactures, and they are asking you, they're giving you the information rather regarding all that has been happening with the company. So they are telling you that the budgeted production level was 440,000 units, and actually we ended up producing 480,000 units. So far the information that you people are seeing, is it a good thing or a bad thing that business created more number of units? More than the target was done, it is a good thing. Absolutely. So then it further tells you that the main ingredients that were used in soya milk are soya beans and sugar, both of which are grown within 50 kilometer of vegan company's premises. So 50 kilometer means location wise, my raw materials are very close to me. Vegan company markets its soya milk on this basis, making it appeal to customers committed to caring for the environment. Extracts from the standard cost card per unit of soya milk for November are shown below. So as per the standard cost card, what are we supposed to do? Soybeans have to be 200 grams and sugar has to be 12 grams, and the cost per kg has also been given to us. Further, it is telling us that vegan company used 94,000 kg of soybeans and 5280 kgs of sugar in its actual production of soy milk in November. The actual cost to vegan company of soybeans in November was $5.7 per kg, and the actual cost of sugar was $1.9 per kg. So you can see, as per our budget, we were thinking soybeans should be 5.9, but it was 5.7, and the actual cost of sugar, we were thinking that it'll be 1.8, but then it actually came to 1.9. The market price in Zealand for soybeans decreased by 10% in November, but for sugar, it increased by 20%. This was due to an unusually cooler winter, which had a positive effect on soybean crops, but a negative one on the sugar crops. The purchasing manager is responsible for negotiating the prices with the suppliers. Vegan Company made a change to the standard mix at the beginning of November, reducing sugar to 10 grams per unit in order to comply with the new government legislation. So, as per the standards, it's meant to be 12 grams, but then in November, we had made some changes to follow the government rules and we have made it to 10 grams. To try to maintain the consistency of the milk, Vegan Company also decreased the soybeans content from 200 grams per unit to 190 grams per unit at the same time. So, what we were putting as 200 grams earlier, that also we have reduced to 190 grams. The production manager is responsible for the product mix at Vegan Company. So, who is answerable or who will be accountable if there are any changes in the mixes? It is the production manager. Further, it tells me none of the above changes to prices and quantities were reflected in the standard cost card for November, which is prepared by the accounts department and updated twice a year, despite both purchasing and production managers stating that it is not frequent enough. So basically, what we do is the standards were not revised as per the information that is given to us, and as a result, all of these variances, people are going to try to play the blame game. One manager will say that it's not my fault, it's the other manager's fault. So all of this is how you're going to comment on the performance of each of the managers when you get to know exactly who was responsible for which of the mistakes that have happened, whatever were the good variances, who was responsible for those, whatever are the bad variances, who are responsible for those kind of variances. So what I'm doing over here is the sheet that we have for our practice. I'm just adding another sheet over here, renaming it to Vegan Company. And here we will get started. Vegan Company, the very first requirement, we have to calculate for each ingredient. So there are two ingredients in soy milk. One is the soybeans and other is the sugar. So for the first part, I want to calculate the material price planning variance. So this is part A. Within that, the first subpart, material price planning variance. What I will do is I will calculate it first for the first ingredient that I have is soybeans and second that I have is sugar. So soybeans and then sugar. Now, when it comes to the material price variances, forget about planning and operational variances for now. If you talk about material price variance, what exactly do you want to find out with that? What exactly do you want to find out with the material price variance?
Standard price minus actual price.
You're telling me the formula, Fatima, but what is the meaning? What are we trying to find out when I am calculating the material price variance? What is my agenda? Okay, whether we exceeded or remained under budget. So very simple interpretation for this is when I want to calculate my material price variance, I just want to have a comparison. How much was the price that I thought I would be able to get the material at versus how much price I actually ended up paying. So what you think does not really happen in all cases. Sometimes there are changes also that happen as per what you were thinking will happen. So as per that, you want to find out that what you had thought versus what actually happened. What is the difference that the business had to incur because of these two prices being different from each other? So material price planning variance, then this is basically what you try to find out in a material price variance. Now within planning and operational, what do we want to find out by calculating planning and operational variances? What do we want to find out? So we want to basically have a bifurcation that depending upon whether it was a thing which was under my control or whether I had to spend extra cost because something happened which was beyond my control, right? So in our planning variance, we see that how well were we able to plan. So if I had thought the price will be XYZ, how much the price should have been as per the real market conditions. So here in this case, you saw that the prices of one raw material increased, another one decreased. So that is something which you could not forecast properly. So that's a planning mistake that you've done. Then another variance is the operational variance. That is where you want to see that as per the new conditions that emerged in the market, were you then able to perform well operationally? Did the people who were responsible for the purchases, let's suppose I was thinking it will be for $10, but then in the market shortage was there, so the price increased to $12. So was I actually able to get the material at $12, or did I spend 13, or did I get it at $11? That is what I try to find out in my operational variances. So when it comes to planning, we will compare what our original plan was with what is the revised figure. And then when it comes to the operational variances, we are going to draw a comparison between which two prices, guys?
Revise actual. Revise and
Revised and actual. Absolutely right. So remember these things when you are trying to solve questions on variances like these. So very first, we have to calculate the material price planning variance. So what do we have to do is we have to draw a comparison between the standard price and the actual price, and then we will multiply it with the quantity. So actual quantity is what we can multiply it with. Now, if you have a look, the standard price for soybeans was given to us at $5.9 per kg. So 5.9 was for soybeans, and for sugar it was 1.8. So I'll enter 1.8 here. Similarly, if I have a look at the actual price, how can we calculate the actual price? Is it given to us?
yes, ma'am.
Yes. How much is the number given?
5.7 for soybean and 1.9 for sugar.
Is that the actual price or is that the revised price?
Actual cost.
So what do we want here? Do we want the actual or do we want to see the revised one?
Revised one.
We want to see the revised, what we should have taken. So any hints given to you in the question about the revised prices, what you should have taken?
10%
Mm-hmm.
decreases.
Absolutely. The market prices in Zealand for soybeans decreased by 10% in November. So if the prices decreased by 10%, then that means the actual price should have been this figure into 1 minus 10%, or you can multiply it with 90% also. Both ways you people will get the same answer. Similarly, we can calculate for sugar also. Sugar, it has to be increased by 20%. So what I do is this figure into 1 plus 20%, or you can also multiply it with 1.2. Both will give you the same answer. So this is what the price should have been that you should have taken versus the price that you have taken as per your actual standards. Now the next thing is for you people to find out how much actual quantity was used. So actual quantity is directly given to you, 94,000 kgs of soybeans and 5280 kgs of sugar. So 94,5280 of sugar. Now what do we do is we have to find out how much is the difference or how much is the variance exactly. So when I want to find out the variance, it is very important for me to understand that which signs am I going to use. Will it be an adverse variance or will it be a favorable variance? Now this is the material prices that we are talking about. We had thought that we will be able to buy something in the market for 5.9, but the prices fell down to 5.31. Sorry, this should not be actual price. This should be the revised price. Okay, so as per the market conditions, we found out that something which we were thinking we had to pay 5.9 for, that can be purchased in the market for 5.31 now. So is it a good thing for the business or is it a bad thing? It's a good thing. That means the variance will be favorable or adverse.
Favorable.
Favorable, absolutely. So what you do over here is you find out the difference. 5.9 was what you thought. 5.31 is what the prices in the market went to. And then you multiply it with your actual quantity. So this is the amount of variance when it comes to soybeans. Then same working you people can follow for your the other raw material also. You can copy paste the formula and it will automatically give you the answer. We can see why the formula has given us a negative sign over here is I can see that I was thinking I will be able to buy a material for $1.8 per kg, but then in the market the prices increased. So these are my raw material prices. If my raw material becomes more expensive, it is bad news for me as a company. That is why this variance will be classified as an adverse variance. So always and always remember, guys, along with your answers, please ensure that you're mentioning favorable and adverse. Otherwise, the variance answers are considered incomplete. So this is how you will answer the material price planning variance. One more thing which you people can do, which can also be marked as the correct answer, is you can take the exact workings as it is, and only one thing you can change. So if you people want, here we have used actual quantity. Another correct answer in your exam can be if you people want to take the revised quantity over here. Both the presentations are correct. Usually what the formula we've learned is we multiply it with the actual quantity. But just in case you people want to multiply it with the revised quantity, that presentation will also be considered as correct. So how much should be your revised quantity? It was told to you people that we had decreased the soybeans content to 200 grams to 190, and then sugar was reduced from 12 to 10 grams. So how would you people find out the revised quantity? How much should it have been? How much quantity of soybean should the business have used?
0.19.
Mm-hmm. 0.19 per unit. And how many units have you produced? 480,000. So how do you
4
find out your revised quantity will be 480,000 multiplied by 0.19. So this is the amount of material that you should have used. Similarly, you can do it for sugar also. For sugar, it was 0.010 because we've reduced it to 10 grams. So 0.010 multiplied by your actual production. Actual production is 480,000 units. So you multiply this with 480,000. This number will also be considered to be correct. Whatever presentation you people want to choose, both of the answers are going to be considered to be correct. Okay, this is the answer for the first subpart, material price planning variance, everybody. Any doubts still here? I've just shown you both of the presentations which will be marked as correct. Whether you want to multiply it with actual quantity, whether you want to multiply it with revised quantity, both numbers will be marked as correct. But you only have to show one. Do not show both of the calculations. You'll not get any extra marks for that. Okay, should we proceed further to the next part?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, great. So now we move forward to the second subpart where we have to find out the material price operational variance. So I'll copy paste this part. And this is the answer for my second working, which is the material price operational variance. So again, for the operational variances, we have just discussed that we will be comparing the revised price with the actual price. So if you have a look at the revised price, you've just calculated the revised prices above. So you can link your cells from above, and then actual prices are already given to you people in the question. So what you actually ended up paying was 5.7 and 1.9 respectively. So you ended up paying 5.7 and $1.9 respectively. And what do you multiply this difference with, guys?
Actual quantity.
Actual quantity, right? Absolutely. So you take the actual quantity over here, and then you can find out the variance. If you want to improve the way you present your answers, you can also bold your end results. Okay. So now moving to actual quantity also, I have just taken in the parts above. This is my actual quantity. It was also directly given to me in the question. So these are the actual figures that I have used. Now here also, if you people see the material price operational variance, what do you people think about the favorable or adverseness of the variance? Will it be favorable for soybean or will it be adverse?
Adverse,
Why is it adverse? What's the reason?
because revised price is more than actual.
Yes, because as per the new standards also, it should have costed us $5.31, but we ended up spending $5.7, which is more than what we should have taken. So it is a bad thing for the company. You take the difference and you multiply this difference with your actual quantity. So this gives you an adverse variance. Same formula, if you copy paste on the other side, it's giving you a favorable variance. Why? You were supposed to buy something for $2.16, but you were able to get it for lesser. You were able to get it for $1.9, which gave you a favorable answer. So this is the answer for our second part, the material price operational variance. Okay, all good till here? Okay. Now let us proceed to the third part that we have here, which is the material usage planning variance. So when it comes to material usage, guys, what is my main agenda? What do I want to find out with my material usage variance? Forget planning and operational. Just tell me, what do we want to find out with the material usage variance? I just want to draw a comparison that how much I should have used versus how much I have used. So for the output that I have produced, how much of raw material ideally I should have used versus how much I actually ended up using. So I have to draw a comparison between these two numbers. So what I will take is I here have to compare the standard quantity with the revised quantity, and that difference I have to multiply with the standard price. So what all things I have to consider over here is standard quantity, revised quantity, and the difference can be multiplied with the standard price. So as per the standards, how much of material we should have used. So if you have a look over here, as per our normal standard 0.2 and 0.012, this was how much quantity we should be using. So if you consider 0.2, multiply that by 480,000, 0.2, multiply that by 480,000. This gives you how much material you should have used as per the standards. 480,000. Yeah. So 96,000 kgs of raw material should have been used as per the standards. Similarly, for the sugar raw material, that is 0.012, 0.012 multiplied by 480,000. So 5760 kgs of sugar should have been used. Now, as per the revised quantity, revised information is when the government regulations were imposed, where as per the new legislation, I had to reduce sugar to 10 grams. So if sugar was meant to be 10 grams, rather than 0.012, I will replace it to 0.010. So that means as per the revised standards, I should have taken 4800 kgs. Similarly, I had reduced the input of my soybeans also to 190 grams. So I can copy paste and then I can change it to 0.19. 0.19. So this is how much material I should have used as per the revised budget. Now I have to multiply this number with the standard price. So the standard prices are 5.9 and 1.8. 5.9, 1.8. Now I can find out the variance. So for the production that I'm really sorry. So for the production that I have done, as per my standards, I should have used 96,000 kgs, but then the government made some changes and now I can be producing that same quantity using 91,200 kgs. So for a business, how do you people think it's going to impact? Is it a favorable thing or an adverse thing?
Adverse,
you thought that you will be consuming 96,000 kgs, but then the government told you have to reduce the input that you are putting. So 91,200 is the new quantity. So Fatima, earlier I was thinking I will need 96,000 kgs of raw material. Now, because of the changes that have happened, I will need lesser raw material. So as a business, if you need lesser raw material, won't it be a favorable thing? It'll be a favorable thing, right? Because I have to use lesser material than I was thinking. Yes, so that is why your answer in this case is going to be a favorable number. So how much the variance is going to be? 96,000 minus 91,200 multiplied by the standard price, which is going to give you this much variance favorable. In both cases, you're going to end up getting favorable variances. So this is how you do your calculations for the usage planning variances. Another thing which will be so if you want to have a look at the usage planning variance, there's no alternate presentation. For planning variance, you have to multiply it with the standard price itself. So this is the one and the only way to find out the material usage planning variance. You can bold your final answers also. So I have made this answer bold. All good. Should we head to the last part now for the numerical workings? Okay. So now moving towards the part number 4, where it is asking me to find out the material usage operational variance. Okay. So now in respect to the operations, I have to consider firstly the revised quantity, and I have to compare the revised quantity with the actual quantity that I have used. And then the same difference I can be multiplying with the standard price, or another possible calculation will be where I can multiply it with the revised price. So this is the standard price. And another working I'll show you people with the revised price. So when I talk about the revised quantity, I can take the number right from above itself. This is my revised quantity. And when it comes to the actual quantities are directly given to you people in the question. You've purchased 94,000 kgs of soybeans and 5280 of sugar. So we had plotted the actual quantity also somewhere. Yeah, here it is, so that we don't have to type in the numbers again and again. 5280 is what we have used. So now we can multiply it with the standard price. These are the standard prices copy pasted from above. And now I can find out my variance. So I was supposed to use 91,200 kgs, but I ended up using 94,000 kgs of raw material. So as a business, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad
Bad.
thing.
It's a bad thing. I ended up using more material than I should have. So here I'm going to get to an adverse variance, select the difference and then multiply it with the cost. So these many dollars adverse is going to be the variance in both of the cases. You can highlight your final answers also. Another correct presentation for this variance will be where rather than taking the standard prices, you consider or you multiply it um, with the revised prices. So rather than taking the standard price over here, the numbers have changed. So just to correct the numbers, okay, so here I will be taking the revised price. So how much is the revised price? That is also something which we had calculated above. 5.31 was the revised price for soybeans, and for sugar it was 2.16. So this is another correct acceptable presentation for your material usage operational variances. 14,868 adverse or 1,036 adverse. Okay, guys, all clear?
Ma'am, when we consider operational variance, we generally use standard price, but in this circumstances, we have considered revised price. So it will be fine in exam if we consider only revised price.
Both are considered fine. If you are calculating the material usage operational variance, Bhumika, whether you use the standard price or you use the revised price, both answers will be marked as correct. Whatever formula you're able to recollect easily, you can use that formula. Presentation wise, both will be marked correct.
Okay.
I also have this habit where I take the standard price only, revised price. When I was actually studying the PM paper, this was not considered as the correct presentation. Only standard price was acceptable. But then there were some developments in the field. Some people argued that when you're calculating the operational variance, operations are all about what happened in the real world. So when you're comparing with the revised versus the actual, so it does not make sense to compare it with the standard price. So ACCA has give you an official thing that whether you want to use standard price or you want to use revised price, both calculations will be marked as correct.
Got it, got it. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, no problem. All good till here, guys. These are all the numerical workings. Perfect. Okay. So now we have to answer for part B. Part B was where we have to evaluate and assess the performance of production manager and the purchasing manager. So basically, production manager is the one who is responsible for producing the things. The product mix is what he takes care of. And when it comes to your purchasing manager, that is the person who is responsible for buying of your raw materials. So having a look at the numbers that you people have calculated, you can come and open this spreadsheet. Also, I've shared the link with you earlier. So you people let me know what you people think about the performance of these managers. Who has done well and who hasn't? You've calculated usage variances, you've calculated price variances. So when you saw the planning variance when it comes towards the prices, how good of a job have the people done with respect to predicting the prices? The accounting managers were responsible for predicting the prices. Did they do a really good job trying to predict the material prices? Do you see major differences between standard and revised?
Yes.
Yes, so that means they were not very good when it comes to finding out what could be the prices of the raw materials in the future. And then if you have a look at the operational variance, so that was something which was responsible for the planning people. Then if you people talk about the operational variance, operational is how much money you should have spent versus how much you purchase the raw material for. So it is the responsibility of the purchasing manager. Purchasing manager ended up buying 5.31 worth of material for $5.7, and he also ended up saving money. 2.16 was what sugar should have costed, but he purchased that for 1.9. So what do you people have to say about the purchasing manager? It is the responsibility of the purchasing manager to negotiate the prices, isn't it? If you are on the buying end, you should be negotiating with your suppliers that if the supplier tells you it is 100 rupees, you tell them, can we please do it at 92? Can we please do it at 85? So it is the responsibility of the purchasing manager to negotiate with the supplier for the prices. But when it comes to the cost cards being out of date, is it the responsibility of the purchasing manager to deal with the cost cards, the standard cost cards? Can the
No,
purchasing manager do anything
No.
about the
no,
cost
no.
cards? No. So his performance should be evaluated only on the which variance, planning or operational? Which variance is in his control, planning or operational? Zainab, we were just discussing that planning is not in his control. Planning is done by somebody else. Standard cost card is done by somebody else. So which variance can he control? If he negotiates the prices, he can have a difference in the actual prices, right? So in his control, he only has the operational variance. So when you want to find out, when you want to judge the performance of the purchasing manager, you should only be considering the material price operational variance. So talking about the both of the materials that you have, you talk about soybeans, you talk about sugar. So with soybeans, you see you have an adverse variance. With respect to material price operational, you can see $36,660 worth of adverse variance. This means, is it a good performance or is it a bad performance on the part of the purchasing manager?
Bad.
It's a evidence of a bad performance. So whatever prices that he was negotiating, he was not able to get to the market prices. He purchased at prices which were higher than the market. But you can mention one thing, that vegan company has this policy. We saw in the question, right? In the case study, it was mentioned that they have their suppliers within a range of 50 kilometers. This is the basis on which they market for their products. So if, let's suppose, maybe there were some other suppliers, but they were they were more than 50 kilometers away, then that is one reason why the purchasing manager could not probably get the best prices that were available in the market. Maybe the nearby people were charging expensive. If the manager allowed me to go a little bit outside and then negotiate, I could have gotten the market prices. So this is one reason that you can give to support your purchasing manager. Then you can talk about sugar. If you talk about the sugar, you see a $1373 of favorable variance. So you can see that even though this is a smaller value, but then is it a good thing for the business? Yes, it's a favorable variance. That means it's a good thing for the business. So that it is, even though it is small in value, but it still shows that the manager did a good job at negotiating the prices. So what he was supposed to get for 2.16, he was able to get it for $1.9. If the usage was a little bit higher, so for soybeans, we need so many number of kgs, but sugar, we need lesser in quantity. If we wanted more of sugar, then the variance could have been more favorable, but no problem. The manager did try to control the cost, and he did a good job. Whatever was available in the market for 2.16, he was able to get it for $1.9. So this is how we will do the evaluation for the purchasing manager. Any queries still here? I'll show you the drafting also, how we will draft our answers. I'm first discussing with you people what all points we will include here.
So, ma'am, purchasing manager only responsible for the material price operational variance.
Right. Because
Okay.
planning is not in his control. Planning is done by the accounting manager.
Okay.
Right. So how we are going to frame our answer for part B is, first we will talk about the purchasing manager's performance. So with respect to purchasing manager, how we can start drafting our answer is, firstly, we will say that the purchasing manager is responsible for negotiating the prices of the raw materials since planning is not done by the purchasing manager. The
Rishan, I have
planning
class right now.
variance. Guys, somebody's mic is on unmute. Okay, since planning is not done by the purchasing manager, the planning variance should not be included to judge the performance of the purchasing manager. For the performance evaluation, only what you can say is the operational material price, operational variance should be considered. Okay, so this you talk about the controllability factor first, and then you talk about material by material. So you can say for soybeans, the purchasing manager ended up spending end up spending more on prices than available in the market. This represents poor negotiation with the suppliers. However, this may also be due to the fact that vegan company has a policy vegan company has a policy of buying raw material from within a 50-kilometer distance. Okay, so this I've given a little bit of a reasoning also. And then we can go for the second material for sugar. The manager, or you can say the variance is favorable, even though it is a small amount. It is a small amount. This shows that the purchasing manager negotiated, or you can say was able to negotiate prices from suppliers lower than the market prices. Okay, so this is how we can do the performance evaluation for the purchasing manager. Drafting is very easy. You people can see I have not used any of the technical jargons. I have not used any fancy words. Simply, I have explained firstly what is in his control, what should be included and what should not be included in the performance evaluation. And then one by one, I've talked about both of the materials that were there in the operational variance. Easy? All good till here? Okay, great. So now we proceed further to discuss about the performance of the production manager. So production manager is mainly responsible for your usage variances. Now again, when it comes towards the the person who is responsible for the production, again he is responsible for how much material was used, but can he be evaluated for the outdated cost cards? The standard cost card which was outdated, was it the fault of the production manager?
No, ma'am.
So out of the two variances that you have, material usage planning and material usage operational, only one should be considered for the evaluation of the production manager. Which one should you be considering?
Material usage
Operational variance only, right? So this is what you will start off with. Now if you have a look at the operational variances that are visible to you, you have a negative variance when it comes towards the soybeans, and then again with respect to sugar also you see a negative variance. So how are you going to write your interpretation? Firstly, if you talk about soybeans, this means if you're getting an adverse usage over here, this simply means that the manager was not able to control the production well, because he ended up using more material than he should have. So you should have used, ideally as per the revised standards, you should have used 91,200 kgs of raw material, but you ended up using 94,000 kgs. So because you ended up using more raw material, that is why you are getting an adverse variance over here. Similarly, if you talk about sugar, sugar is again $864 adverse. That means that sugar also we ended up using more than we should have. So if you find out how much have you used per unit, or you were supposed to, as per the legislations, it was meant to be the reduction that was there, it was meant to be 0.1. So you can see that it was reduced by the government to 10 grams per unit. Now here, if you try to find out how much it was per unit that you've actually used, actual quantity is this much, and using this much of raw material, you have produced 480,000 number of units. So if you see how much has been your usage per unit you have still used 11 grams of sugar, whereas the government wanted you to use 10 grams. So there was a government legislation, there was a rule made by the government that the maximum that you can put is 10 grams, but you have ended up including 11 grams over here. So what does it say about the performance? Performance is definitely bad because we've used more raw material than we should have. But then there are bigger repercussions over here. What are the bigger repercussions? If the government finds out that I'm putting still 11 grams, that is 1 gram more than what they have allowed, then this means that my product will not be compliant with the government regulation. And maybe if the government finds out, what will I have to pay? What will the government do with me?
Or penalty.
Fines and penalties are possible. Absolutely. So how you'll frame your answer over here is, this is the production manager's performance. I will bold my subheading over here, and I will say that the production manager is responsible for the usage of raw material. However, he is not responsible for the outdated standard cost card. Hence, the performance evaluation of the production manager should only be on the basis of material usage operational variance. Right? So this is an introduction that I give with respect to controllability. Then I can talk about material by material. So the first material that I had was soybeans. For soybeans, how much was the adverse variance? We had $16,520 adverse variance. The adverse variance of $16,520 represents that the manager ended up using more quantity of raw material than what should have been used. Right, so that is the reason why the adverse variance is arising. And then further, you people, because multiple marks are 2 marks are available basically for extra calculations. So what you can show is, you can show another calculation, that how much have you used as per the revised standard. So the revised standard was given to you. As per revised standard, it should have been 190 grams. And if you find out how much you have actually used per unit, so your total usage has been 94,000 kgs, which you used to produce 480,000 number of units. So if you see, your actual usage has been 195, or you can say 196 grams. So this a calculation can be used, and you can show this calculation so that the extra 2 marks that are available for calculations, you're able to fetch those easy marks. So you can clearly show that as per the revised, we should have used 190 grams, but we ended up using roughly 196 grams. That is why we are facing an adverse variance when it comes to soybeans. And then you can talk about sugar. For sugar, the adverse variance shows that more quantity was used than the revised standard. And then you can further show the calculation that as per the revised standard, we should have used 0.1. And what you've actually done is actually you have used this much of sugar for 480,000 number of units. This means you have actually ended up using 11. So this was 0.010. 0.010, and this should have been 10 grams, but you ended up using 11 grams. So this is why you are facing an adverse variance. And then you can again mention about the important point, which is with respect to the government legislation. So this means that vegan companies products will not, um, you can say, comply with the government legislation. Not only do these adverse variances reflect poor performance on the part of the production manager, but this can have significant repercussions for the business in the form of fines and penalties levied by the government. Right? So, this is how we can frame our answer for the part B, where we were supposed to do a performance evaluation of both of the managers. Any queries still here? Are you all with me, everybody? Any doubts? Please let me know. I'm waiting for 1 minute here. Okay, all good, guys? Should we head to the second question for today's agenda? Okay, great.